I predict free software for all. And if we all lose our jobs, then we get this K-shaped economy everyone's talking about. K being the rich aristocrats who already have their money, the Elon Musks, the Mark Zuckerberg, they stay rich, nothing changes. We, the poor people, we lose our jobs, we have no money, we're in the bottom of the K curve, right? And when we're in the bottom of the K curve, it becomes so hard to escape because when I come up with a new idea, everyone has the same amount of tools, we're all competing. Welcome to today's episode at Technology Talks, your place where we break down the latest trends in technology and finance, where we dissect AI and economic strategy. Thank you for tuning in. We are your hosts, Elvis and Explicit.
Yep, I'm Explicit. I'm the founder of Lennox, an AI tutor that personalizes your educational material according to your interest. It is the best AI tutor out there. Go check it out. If you love basketball, we teach you using that, whatever your interests are. And you can also play podcasts on your way to the next class.
And my name is Elvis Kimara. I'm the founder of Thoroughly, the first agentic bartering platform that allows cashless exchange of goods and services. Basically, the next Facebook marketplace where everything from search, bargaining, delivery, payments are handled by agents/AI. And we are really excited to have this conversation today, focusing on technology and AI. We are the perfect hosts to talk about AI and the economy because between us, we have a lot of experience in AI research and business. But yes, moving on, we want to talk about AI and the economy, kind of a part two from where we left things in the previous video, breaking down what AI is doing to the economy and how the future looks like. I'm really excited for this debate.
So, before Elvis get into more of the context of what happened, we kind of ran out of time in the last episode because it got heated up because of the different views that I and Elvis had. So we are here to just continue to dissect how we think the world or the economy of the world is going to be like, how it's going to be shaped overall going on forward.
Yes. So we touched on a lot of things last week. I wanted to go through a breakdown of some of the things we agreed on and disagreed on. So the first major one that we agreed on was AI taxes. We predicted that maybe in the future, a lot of big tech corporations that maybe have laid off so many people or have done mass automation, like maybe Amazon laying off 600,000 people, might be taxed heavily so that the revenue could be used for UBI, universal basic income. Did you agree on that?
No, I
brought that up.
yeah, he said that.
I thought you agreed on that one. It's a might.
Okay, I do agree that taxes are likely to go high, but not for the purposes of UBI.
Okay, yeah, that's very true. We also talked a lot about AI's role in politics moving forward. We have already seen politicians like Bernie Sanders bring up AI when it comes to elections. And in the future where people are losing jobs, we see how AI will play a big factor into winning the crowd to show up for an election. It could be making politicians want to vote for universal basic income. It could be the taxes that people want these companies to suffer for the layoffs and then helping the people. So we agreed on that one, right?
Yeah, we did agree on that because people will do that, but I don't agree with the policies. But let's continue.
Yes. The major one that we agreed on too was the reskilling/career pivot. In today's words, these things will happen autonomously. No one will be forced. You said Meta will just lay you off, and then you have to feed for your family, and so then you know that, hey, I have to maybe move from technology to healthcare because all the money is in healthcare.
Yep.
So I agree 100% on that. We also talked about a plateau in AI improvements that's already happening. So back in 2022, 2023, there was really an exponential bump in improvements. but moving forward, it's just going to plateau more and more and more. Maybe for the next 5, how long do you think we have till AGI?
To AGI, AGI is one of them things which is really hard because like no one has a proper definition of AGI, but I think we're somehow reaching there. I've seen that Anthropic right now, they've really not stopped, but they aren't focusing as much on the model. They're focusing on integrating the current model into workflows. So this integration into different workflows, I think it's a contribution to how AGI will be. But of course, AGI, at the end of the day, we want a tool that really thinks more than the average human, as of which right now, most of the models really think more than average of more than an average human. But I think where creativity comes in play, I think that's like the definition of AGI that I go with, where it's like we're now talking about an AI tool that can make something new, not just like, of course, like something new can be made from prior pattern recognition, right? But we're looking at like, is it novel? Can you make something novel that hasn't been made before using that prior knowledge and make like new inventions in different industries? And we have seen OpenAI probably has now 3 or 4 of those, which is really great. I'm not sure about the other labs, how they are doing in that specific area in terms of breaking new researches, new experiments. But I think we're really close to AGI.
Yeah, and that was something we agreed on as well. We said last week, adding on what you just said, AGI will have to invent new vaccines, cure cancer, or even solve issues with climate change and renewable energy. So the most productive type of AI. Something else that we talked about was government taking more control into industries of priority. So for instance, with the Intel deal, where the government bought maybe 10% of Intel or shares of Intel. And so, yeah, we're going to see a lot more of that happening. We talked about maybe manufacturing, for instance. The government will want to reprioritize manufacturing in the US for things like robotics, and so they'll pump more money into such companies. Was it not Stargate?
Stargate, yeah.
Yes, something like Stargate, where the government wants to focus on AI, like in the previous election, or like during the start of the previous election.
Yeah, kind of refocusing their policies towards making those things more forward, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, those are the things we really agreed on. But other than that, there were a lot of things we disagreed on as well. We disagreed on the 10x revenue from AI for these companies, because how I take it, if a company is making 1 billion in revenue, because of productivity gains, they won't just have 10 billion in revenue the next year. I think that will happen. Only after they reduce their spend. So for instance, the layoffs. If you cut off your employment, then you save more money to, do other things. Something we also talked about was because people are being laid off, they might not have the money to have the subscriptions to then even contribute to that 10x revenue gain. So the revenue gains, just like the AI improvements, will plateau. It won't be exponential or just linear. What's your take on that?
Okay. Let's start getting into more context, right, about the whole 10x revenue, right? So what we are talking about is that AI models are really improving, and they have improved a lot over the couple of years since 2022, as we mentioned in the last episode. So now the integration of these models into workflows, right? It's going to make work really fast. I used to make like financial models, right? It took me like 3-4 days thinking around, copying and pasting data. It was really hard copying because you have to copy data from a 10K, which is just like financial statements that companies release on a yearly, or the 10Qs that are released on a quarterly basis, right? And sometimes you have to, if you don't have like access to maybe a Bloomberg terminal or S&P Capital Global Markets, you have to copy and paste that data, or you have to manually write it. So it takes a long time to implement. Now with AI, you can now integrate and connect your AI, your cloud to your Excel, and that cloud connected to Excel, you can now connect it, because they introduced connectors where you can now connect to your data source. So it can copy the data directly and make the model directly. So that's like about approximately 10 sheets in Excel that are made, and they're made within 30 minutes. Something that used to take me a couple of days, right?
It's 30 minutes? Or I thought it's supposed to be instant.
Oh, it's like it's like less than 30 minutes, because after like doing refinements, going back and forth, just like by coding.
Okay, because of AI, my expectations are very high. You cannot tell me I'm waiting 30 minutes for an AI.
Yeah, I'm not sure with like 4.6, because I tried it with like 4.5, as of which they have like new updates with like 4.6. They say it is now more accurate, blah, 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 blah. So, but I haven't tested it out. But like with 4.5, that was the case.
Anyway, accuracy is what matters in this case. It's not the speed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
You're fine, perfectly fine. So, with these models now being more accurate and getting in deep, making those 10 Excel sheets in a couple of minutes, right? And they're accurate after all. It means that this work that I was given at a workplace that took me a couple of days, now workplaces are going to reduce like the amount of time that you're given to deliver, right? Which means the company can now, if you're an investment bank, or if you're a bank, or wherever, this applies to different industries, but I'm just taking this like finance as one of the general examples that I'll use. If you're an investment bank, if it took you like 3 days to make an Excel, then now it takes you like 30 minutes. It means that these companies are going to start to require more output per worker, right? And more output per worker equals more deals equals increase in revenues, right? And to some point, as we have started noting, layoffs are there. They are part of like the matrix, right? People get laid off because a 2-day job, and those 2 days you're probably not working alone. You'd be multiple people in that Excel sheet and working on different sheets, right? So now it's just one person. So technically, if you're working 3 people in that sheet, maybe we now need 1 person, right? I think we actually saw Blocks yesterday. They recently laid off about 4,000 people. It is a company with approximately 10,000 people. They cut off like 40%.
Well,
Blocks, yeah. The one led by Jake Dorsey. Yeah. The former CEO of Twitter.
Is that it's not Stripe, is it? Is it Stripe? No. They do the, I know what Block is. It's them.
Yeah. They have a bunch of companies under them, so I get, isn't it Venmo? No, not Venmo.
Could be actually.
I
think they bought it at some point, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but they're into financial payments
They do
as
the
well.
cashless tap-in. They were the first to create when you pay with the...
with the sort of NFC?
Is it called NFC?
I'm not sure, but...
The thing when you use your phone to pay without your credit card, or like when you're a small business, and then back in the day, you'd reject a customer because you didn't maybe take credit card, but now they have their own block. That's like this physical device that you plug into your phone, and then you could read anyone's debit card or credit card with that block or brick.
Nice.
Yeah, by tap in pay with your.
So the guys are innovative for sure.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, NFC.
Mm.
I think it's part of NFC because.
Yeah.
But anyway. So something that was done by multiple people is now being done by less people, right? 40% reduction. And we know Jack Dorsey is one of them people who was leading Twitter with many employees when he didn't need them. So when a person like Jack Dorsey is now reducing employment, now just imagine everyone else who is already on their lineup of operational efficiency. Everyone is going to try to get that operational efficiency because we saw what happened to the stock market. It surged by approximately 29% increase just after his tweet. So definitely we are going to start getting more higher valuations in companies, and we're going to increase revenues as well because of maybe because of the efficiency, as I was mentioning, which equates to more deals, and we are going to probably see higher net profits because of the higher revenues and the lower cost in terms of human capital as we lay more people off.
I agree on the laying people off to then reduce the operational spend. I also agree on the productivity gains, like the Bloomberg example, the Bloomberg terminal that you mentioned. Good example. And the productivity gained. You know, something that just came to my mind too was right now we're talking about the 10x, and I'm saying it's going to plateau. You're saying it's going to keep going upward.
Yeah.
This weekend, there was this AI doomsday report that predicted that the next 2-3 years, the economy is just going to collapse, right? I think you saw it. I shared it with you a little bit. And when you were talking about the layoffs and everything, and you're talking about the Bloomberg terminal, right? And how much time it takes you 30 minutes now instead of 3-5 days, right?
Yeah.
In the report, the AI doomsday report, they talked about how our entire economy is built on taxing people for the time they spend at work, right? So you show up to work every day, you try to prolong your works because you're paid by the hour. What happens when the work that used to take you 3 days now takes you 30 minutes, right? That, since you can't tax that time, even the economy or the government won't have the money to then even run the economy. So now I'm saying, not only will the AI revenue plateau, even the economy.
So, the way I see that model, right? We're taking the economy. If we're taking the theoretical model, which just helps us navigate how the economy is it's like a circle, right? And we're saying that in that circle, the government gets revenue or from taxes, either taxing corporations, taxing people directly. And as we see this going, is that it's going to increase the salaries of the few people that are going to be there because they are doing more work, essentially, right? And they're living high-skilled earners, right? So those people are going to start getting more. And at the same time, as the companies get more in revenues or net profits, the government also realizes the same taxation. So I think in terms of the government being in the center of this, it's going to be a zero effect, like a net zero effect in terms of what was being paid by the people, right, as taxes, is going to be paid by corporations at the end of the day because it's that money that is still coming to these people. So more revenue, more taxes. So
you agree on the AI taxation, but just not for the UBI, just for the government spending.
Yeah, I do think that governments are going to try to to push more taxation because people in policy making are more fascinated in the things that the whole population is interested in. Whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing, politicians will just do what politicians will do.
Sure. Before moving off of the AI 10x revenue, food for thought.
Yeah.
What happens when you empower everyone with the same tool to have their own Bloomberg terminal, and you decentralize it so everyone can have the same information at their fingertips?
But,
Before all of this, right? Maybe it was the hard worker or the smart person that had some insider information or some skilled knowledge into the stock market to like game the system, right? If you give everyone access to the same amount of tools, doesn't this just make the stock price more volatile? Because now everyone has the same information at their fingertips at the exact same time. So then, will everyone then get rich? Because if the market is moving in the same direction, you kind of want to then beat the market by maybe going the different direction. So, because you were saying like everyone now has these financial models in 30 minutes. If everyone has it, what happens? That's my question.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting take. And on top of that take, right? Let me before answering that, let me just like move away slightly from that. I think there's this other thing that I've heard a lot of people talking about is that like when these AI tools come, right, they give us like kind of the same power at the end of the day. But like I was looking at it, looking at like coding, right? Right now you can do a lot in terms of coding. You can maybe go in Cloud Code and maybe tell Cloud Code to make your whole presentation, give it all the details. But people are not interested in all that. People are always interested in whatever they are doing. So you cannot make people to start coding right now, despite like that they're just talking and writing English. But anyways, coming back to your question, right? While I do agree that information asymmetry is one of the things that that makes people get financial gains in the stock market, there is also things like timing, right? You might have like the same information as a quant, developer or a person who's doing quant finance, right? But they have algorithms that get in the minute that an event happens. If a bridge collapses right now, right, and they know that the collapse of that bridge is going to make Mercedes-Benz not have enough resources, or that was the pathway that was being used by producers to deliver resources to Mercedes-Benz. By that time, while that bridge is still falling, those quant guys would have already shorted Mercedes-Benz.
That's a great example. That is the best analogy I've heard.
So there's still a lot of things to dissect into, especially in terms of like financial markets, things like timing, and also there's a lot that will actually, because like I'm just looking at it like comparing right now and the 90s, right? In not the 90s, maybe the 70s, when Warren Buffett started trading. I don't know when he started, but like back then, before he had much information, right?
10 million years ago.
Yeah, during those times, right? There wasn't much information. Then they came the internet boom, right? But still, it made more information accessible as much as he was accessing before, or more than what he had when he started. But still, there is still the need of like financial discipline. You know, one of the things that moves markets is about fear as well. Are you going to get into the market right now, and are you going to just like cut your profits as soon as you get the littlest profits, or are you going to be greedy? How are you going to? There's still a lot. So
True. If I was to jump onto your side for a little bit and support you, we had a host yesterday. He talked about algorithmic trading, and he talked about using agents to plan your trades. For instance, with Kalshi and predictive markets, there's a lot of talk about OpenClaw and how it's very useful and how it's making 10x, 20K per day for some of the people out there. I don't know if it's true, but I think, yeah, agentic trading.
That's true. You know, like I think information asymmetry is one of the things, but like I don't think it's much of that big deal in terms of like being in financial markets because like uh me I'm always looking into financial markets, right? And I always spread what I know about financial markets to people, right? Sometimes I even tell people like the stocks that I'm getting. Like a funny thing is that okay, I won't disclose my returns for the last year, but I had a good amount of returns, more than some hedge funds. Of course, I'm managing not as much money as hedge funds, but in terms of like a return on investment, it's a very good percentage that I got. And I was talking about like some of the stocks that I was buying at some point, telling people, but when people just don't want, they don't want.
True, true. You know, this whole idea of using agents to trade for you is a very good idea.
It
We
is.
should look into it.
It is.
Because I used to read a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, back when I was younger, and it talked about maybe don't use like a finance, like a investor. Like people think you can have money, but like 5 years ago, maybe you needed a finance expert to handle your money, to invest your money for you. But according to Robert Kiyosaki, he was like, some of these investors, experts, are actually dumb, and you're better off if you just do it yourself and learn how to do the stocks yourself. So it gets me even thinking, because earlier on you said AI is probably smarter than the average person. This makes me wonder: are these agentic traders, algorithms smarter than the average trader? You know, definitely smarter than me because I don't know anything. I don't know about. Well, you have some returns, like you already said, so you might be able to beat those algorithms. But for me, it would mean a lot if I had such a tool.
No, that's true. That's true. Because also it comes to the issue of like cross-domain information. We might know so much in technology, right? But these agents know from technology to healthcare to the next sector. So that all that information, when combined, you can actually put into different. You can have a pretty nice, diverse portfolio, which is great. And I think the information that they have is nice, yeah. But I think, of course, there's going to be a need of like control parameters, but I think you can set those up like with ChatGPT, just to guide how you want your agents to trade for you, because like there's different ways to trade, and these agents have all that information, right? Maybe you want to be a passive investor, maybe you want to be a long investor, you want to be an active investor, depending on like, do you want to day trade and all those things. So I think you have to know the basics of like what you want to set up, and you can even get help from ChatGPT to set those things up so that, yeah. Because I think if you just tell it to trade for you, it then gets confused. What am I doing? Am I day trading here, or am I making long trades, or how am I going about it? So
True.
but that's actually an interesting concept.
True. But yeah, I think from all of this, if you're going to get into agentic trading, I think game theory is your best friend. So if everyone is swinging left, you want to swing right, because when people have access to the same amount of information, first of all, you could get paralysis from like just too much information. You just cannot act on it, right? But also, you just want to swing differently from the crowd. That's how you make a return on your investment. Be contrarian, like Peter Thiel. But yeah, that's enough about the revenue 10x. We have a lot of exciting stuff to move on to. We also disagreed about new jobs exploding because people say, oh, we have software and this software is going to lead to boost in demand for software engineers in the next 5 years. And they usually go back and quote history saying, when we had, what examples do you hear out there? People say examples like maybe the demand for radiologists, or like when X-ray machines came, like we thought maybe we're done with radiologists, but in fact we actually hired like 10 times more radiologists because then they began to the demand for it quadrupled, right? So they say also, yes, the demand for software is going to eat the world, so the demand for software engineers is just going to go up. And so yeah, don't worry, there'll be a resurgence of software engineering jobs in the next 5 years. I think that's a lot of bull.
I on that one, I do agree.
Yeah.
I do agree. I don't think software jobs are going to come back as many as they were before. I think we're just going to have a few developers to just orchestrate a swamp of agents, you know.
Word of the year, yeah.
Yeah, word of the year, orchestrate.
Yeah, and I think in 2023, people always said, oh yeah, vibe code your solution and then hire tech bros to then scale it, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I think the models are going to get better, Opus 4.6, 4.7, to the point where it'll just do the whole work end to end. I think AI is going to be like a black hole, a very tiny black hole that just sucks up the software opportunities that it makes. You know, it'll create 10 apps, but also just not create 10 times more employment. So yeah, it's very different from other technological improvements like the tractor and stuff. This one creates, but also destroys as it moves.
Yeah, the way I see it, I do agree with destroying and creating, and I think the way I see this whole thing is like it's going to be a good distraction. Swamp up most of the software and computer science related jobs, right? And then it then boils down to the issue that you were talking about, reskilling, people moving from different fields. There was one of the things that you actually mentioned a few days ago that if AI was here when you started college, you'd have it easier to choose like what you love to do, despite how hard it was, because the information is there for you, and if you're passionate enough, you just like be able to do it because you have that.
You tutor yourself like with tools like Learnex.
Exactly, you know, you just go on Linux, upload your documents, and then you get your personalized learning. So
it's his platform, by the way.
Yeah, so I think in that case, people are just going to now focus on, because like over the past couple of years, we had so many people coming to tech jobs because they were the most paying jobs, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone was as passionate about technology. So because it's now getting tougher, people are going to move out of technology.
It's already happening, yeah.
Yeah, people are already moving out, as you were mentioning, yeah. So those people, when they now go focus on whatever they like, and they take these new tools, which are great, I think we'll get a great reskilling, as you were mentioning, yeah?
True. I love that. Okay, let me ask you something. When this reskilling or refocus happens, right? We have the Fortune 500 companies, a list of companies from the most profitable in the stock market, maybe NVIDIA, Google, to the 500th one. And this makes the S&P 500, which is the most profitable return for those who invest their 401k and other stuff, right?
Yeah.
When the reshuffling happens, right? The guys at the top, the IBMs that are down 13%, let's push it to an extreme. Maybe they fizzle out, right? Some of the SaaS companies are going to be gone in the next 5-10 years. What happens to the Fortune 600 or the 400? Do you think it's like a queue where the big dogs just die out and then next How do you think it happens? Do you think it just moves up like this, or do you think something out of nowhere will just emerge?
Okay, based on how the markets have been moving so far, right? Um, these AI native companies, right, are likely to. I see most of these AI companies they're likely to IPO in the next coming years. We're likely to have OpenAI cloud going in the public stock market. And with the way the things are going, if we continue to rely on these companies, and I think we'll continue to rely on them for a while, I think they are going to be one of the most valued companies. I know Nvidia is at the top there. Tesla is up there because they are also integrated with AI. Google is already there, and probably OpenAI, Cloud as we go if they expand. But they're still far from there because OpenAI is right now today made a deal and they are valued at like 730 billion, which is interesting. So they technically can be in the S&P 500 soon if they IPO and if it all goes well over time.
True.
So those come in and get in, right? And we, as you are mentioning, we have companies like IBM who have been 13% down, and we have companies that have been killed by some of these top AI native companies. We saw that like when Cloud has been releasing like a feature every 13 hours or something, approximately every 13 hours they release a new tool, and we see some companies' stock market prices going down because of how good their skills are. So I think as we go on forward, we are going to have a reshuffle of what's in the S&P 500. That always changes. So I think some companies are going to be botted out, and we're going to have new companies. So that's the way I see it.
True.
What's your opinion?
I like what you said. These AI native companies, maybe the OpenAI, if they ever IPO, they will stay up there, right? I was gonna say it's tricky. You'd think maybe the 400th company would then become the 100th company, right? But I actually think it would just stay down there, and it won't. Well, it might move up to the 100th company, but its revenue is just going to be the same, kind of. It won't be like, it'll move out there, it'll move up because other ones died and it just became the 100th. It won't be like something changed in the company that got it there. And why I say that is, in today's world, we have high priority problems that make us a lot of money in the short run, and some problems that are very hard and maybe they aren't high priority that we kind of don't work on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
When you're working on a startup, you want a problem that has high intensity and high frequency. So a problem like transportation with Uber, when you want to use an Uber app, I'll download it because I always delete it. But when I have that problem, I need the ride right away, and it's high intensity. I have somewhere to go, and I want it now, right? And those were the most marketable problems. And those are the problems everyone has been focused on. And that's why the Fortune 500, they're focusing on the problems that are easy to solve with the highest returns on investment at that time. People make it feel like once AI comes, we're just going to conquer those sets of problems that we currently have and then now refocus on another subset. But this other subset, there's a reason why they weren't our priority. And that was because they were almost very hard or not even very marketable. Examples of those problems include maybe immortality, curing cancer, right? People just make it feel like, oh, AI is here, and now we're just going to go solve cancer, and that's going to be like the way to make money. But that's very, very, very hard. And again, maybe we shall get AGI, but it's going to take years to even cure cancer and solve these hard problems. So that's something I was just thinking about. People just make it feel like, oh, just refocus AI on a different problem, new money is going to come. No, our problems on a day-to-day basis never change. So it's just going to be AI that comes to either destroy and disrupt existing markets and make them and reimagine them. But it won't create a new opportunity because the problems are always going to be the same and unchanging. Think, for instance, with AI, there'll always be need for ride sharing. It'll just be a different type of Uber, right? There'll always be need of DoorDash, but a different type of Uber. No new problems is going to emerge out of nowhere that wasn't already there. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense.
Yeah, I think I get you a lot. So I think the way I see it is like, okay, let's take cancer for example, right?
Mm.
It one of the things that makes these things hard to fix is sometimes information asymmetry, as you were saying. Maybe a domain expert in this, but you're not a domain expert in Y.
Mm.
So when now you have this tool that gives you like personalized information, because back then when you say something on Google, you get like a general overview of things, which sometimes didn't answer you, right? But now you have AI, which goes to multiple sources and now combines that information, right? I think those day in, day out problems that we had before kind of become easier to fix because now the information, you have a bunch of information and it's exactly like what you're looking into. Of course, it's going to be hard because curing cancer is like finding a new solution to something, but like you have all the information. Now, of course, you have to do your input, which will be the hard part, but now information gathering won't be as hard as possible.
True.
So, because like I know, like when you're doing those maybe medical researches, you have to gather a lot of data. Now, just imagine you have cloud working overnight. Maybe you have OpenClaw integrated or a similar system that is taking all that data and it's making those calculations for you. You just have to wake up, now do the calculations, and now think outside the box and say, okay, let's try this. And I think even making like experimental models becomes way easier.
Sure.
And
Simulations, yeah.
yes, even simulations, yeah. So it's a matter of if you are into medicine, right? And you want to be in research, you also have to learn statistics. You also have to learn how to do those models. But I think later in the future, you just have to focus on the medicine. And then the statistical, you don't have to do it because cloud can do all the statistical calculations. So now,
Focus on the problem.
yeah, you focus on the problem and you get more domain expertise in those like in those things that were there. But I think I think you're right in terms of like there aren't new problems that are going to be solved because I think since back then, like back since when humanity started, we've been just facing a loop of the same problems, but they just look different based on the technologies that we have during that day and time.
True. And this is already playing out in today's world, you know? You think of where all the hype is happening right now. We're talking about data centers in space, right? We're talking about predictive markets. These are new opportunities that didn't exist before.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a resurfacing of, such unique ideas that were never there 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Putting data centers in water, right? We're talking about hotels on Mars or on the moon. How did we get here? People have just some people in SF have just realized that the opportunity is in doing something impossible, hard tech, you know, and so they're going to profit from taking other VCs' money and then gambling it on things that just won't make sense. But you know, it's a risk. Not being a part of it is a risk for the VC. You know.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Especially some of the solutions that I'm seeing don't actually have a problem to them. It's just upset, but it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. Something that you brought up twice now was information asymmetry, and also the talking about being a generalist, right? Last time we had this discussion, I said you should be a generalist, and you said you should be kind of a specialist too, and focus on the problem, just like how you were saying on the cancer example.
Mm-hmm.
That was brilliant. And I am kind of stepping back from what I said about being a generalist. Online, you'll hear people say, be a generalist, be a person that understands multiple domains, which is true. Because, like I said last week, 2 plus 2 equals 7 when you know multiple domains, when you are an engineer that's maybe an anime lover, like Sunil, one of our guests, maybe you use AI to then make video animation, right? That's a 7x multiple. But I'll almost disagree and say you want to be a differentialist. I don't know if that's a word.
Okay.
You want to be as contrarian as possible. Think Peter Thiel, but 10 times. Because when you think about it, you said a very particular word. You say everyone is averaged out when they have access to the same amount of information, the same Bloomberg terminal, right? So if everyone has the same amount of information, you just have to be different to game the system, to beat the market. And we say be a generalist, but right now we're all generalists because of what I just said. And you just have to stand out.
No, that's. I love the fact that you said be a differentialist, which is really interesting. But when you said be a generalist in last podcast, we didn't really get into it in terms of like how I saw it as well, because like it's one of them things where it's like you have to find a middle ground. That's why I was agreeing. So that's why I was not really agreeing, but kind of agreeing with the notion of being a generalist, because like let's say you ever want to be a startup founder or you work for a startup, you kind of have to be a generalist to some extent, because when you go to a startup, I think despite like AI advancing to what extent, right? If you're in, let's say you're in tech, maybe that startup will want you to do content as well. Maybe they'll want you to, maybe if you're in finance, they want you to do content. They want you to do the finances. They want you to use these AI tools to enhance productivity. So I would say be a specialist with slight knowledge from different sectors.
Yes. I guess to build on that, right?
Yeah.
At the startup, back in the day, you'd need an accountant, then write your business plan, make your projections for your startup, right? But now you can easily just orchestrate and then in 2 minutes have your financial projections for your runway. And you're a tech bro, you didn't know finance, so you haven't even hired anyone, right? And so there's a way the AI just forces you naturally to just do multiple things without even you thinking that you are operating in multiple lanes, right? And so if everyone has that same amount of skill, then you have to swing really big in the opposite direction. So don't just be different. Be very, very, very different, because naturally you're already the same as everyone else, right? Yeah.
No, that's a great take. That's a great take. Yeah, I'll just say, don't be too different from people.
Wait, don't be.
Don't be too different from people.
Peter Thiel says, what, Asperger's? Like tech people have Asperger's, and they were the strong ones back then because they were the math people, and the math people ran the world for the last 20, 30 years. He says, like in the 1800s, the aristocrats were the language people, the people who were good at communicating, the kings, the ones who knew literature. They could read poets and send letters and share information to their kids, through books and knowledge, right? And reading was the skill. But then at some point, it moved on to math. So the people with Asperger's who are different, right? And now they're saying that's how Silicon Valley was built, off of math and knowledge. But in this next 5 years, it's gonna come back to being a language person, which was something. We have a group chat called Builders, where it's just a couple of us founders just trying to keep ahead, you know. And something I texted in the group chat was that I shared that video and basically just telling us like you want to get into content and differentiation and personal branding to follow that trend of coming back into the language people, because then your brand in the next 5 years will help you stand out and be differentiated. So yeah, that's some insight for you guys.
That's some great insight, in fact. That's some great insight. Yeah, I think this whole thing with AI just it positions you in a tough position, but I think the elevation is really great, though.
True. In the end, we shall have a few tips to keep ahead. That we shall share. So don't worry, we will get to that part over like eventually. Which kind of comes off to the biggest topic from last week.
Oh,
how we ended.
oh.
I said something very controversial, and I could see you boiling across from me when I said it. I predict free software for all. And let me give some context into what I meant when I made that controversial take. So in 2023, AI was the new technology with so much promise. VCs invested a lot of money. And the hope was to get a 10x return on the investment with ideas like AGI being thrown around by companies like OpenAI. 2 years down the road, we haven't reached AGI yet, but these investors want their money back. And so towards the end of 2025, everyone knew getting into the labor market was the biggest way to have a return on investment. If you can use this new agent to help a dentist, then you can make a lot of money, right? But what if you just use this agent to replace the dentist completely? Then your market changes from just your TAM, your total addressable market, changes from just this to 80,000 times bigger, right? So it's a lot of money. And that's why everyone's trying to get into the AI for labor replacement, which is scary. It just sounds ridiculous that the people out there just so out of touch with reality, trying to make people jobless, you know? But anyway, it's crazy. It's crazy. But
that's not the intent, but continue.
It is. We as tech bros just have to touch grass sometimes. We're just so out of tune with things. Hate to take that statement. I'm a tech bro too. But
I'm not.
You are. Anyway, look at you switching sides. But so push it to the extreme. If we all lose our jobs, then we get this K-shaped economy everyone's talking about. K being the rich aristocrats who already have their money, the Elon Musks, the Mark Zuckerberg, they stay rich, nothing changes. We, the poor people, we lose our jobs, we have no money, we're in the bottom of the K curve, right? And when we're in the bottom of the K curve, it becomes so hard to escape because when I come up with a new idea, everyone has the same amount of tools. We're all competing, right? So this new idea will come out, this new Kalshi, there'll be 20 Kalshis. There'll be a new OpenClaw. Everyone wants to make 20 variants of OpenClaw, right? So it's very hard to then get out of that rat race, the new rat race. So if the K curve is the final outcome, then our goal is to avoid this as much as possible, right? And this is what I was saying. And this is what I was saying with the free software for all. In the next 3 years, do not need that Spotify subscription. When doing Uber, you do not need a driverless Uber that doesn't support a driver that has a family. If you're doing DoorDash, only use a DoorDash that supports a community of people, right? There's no need to pay your money to Waymo, where it's $1 billion company that's run by one CEO with 10 employees, right? It just doesn't make sense. You could be supporting families with your money. And you do this long enough, that's how you avoid the K-shaped curve from coming. And you see why this would work. This is sort of a guerrilla war tactic that you can use because you're not really going to fight this billion-dollar corporations, that have all the resources. So you have to resort to guerrilla tactics. So think how the U.S. won the independence, right? They couldn't fight the British on straight-on head-to-head warfare. They just had to make the war economically unfeasible for the British Parliament. So you attack them during night and then you fall back, right? Just exhaust them. Don't fight them head on. That's kind of what I'm proposing with this. This next 3 years, if you're a software engineer and you get laid off, don't just give up and resort to farming, which you can. Spend your time building open source software to support humanity. For every paywalled service, make sure that there's 5 free options, right? This is how we keep them at bay, and this is how we win. Because again, the goal isn't to just hate on Elon Musk, The goal is to actually just make sure that we as a humanity just stay relevant and keep control our power, like own our story. And this is very possible in a country like the US, because see, unlike like Africa where I'm from or Uganda, the US has always been a country of empathy, like in the US people we love our dogs, our golden shepherds and all these other things, and rights for every type of marginalized group. So this is actually something that you guys can stand by, Don't pay for FSD that doesn't support people at the end of the day. Someone's really throwing something that's very crazy, But allow me to continue. So when this happens, right, people think the AI is... And so when this happens, right, people think the country's just going to die and we're all going to be unemployed, jobless. The world is coming to an end, No white collar jobs left. That's what you see online. But no, what actually happens is the economy resets and becomes more of an economy you see all across the world. I'm making assumptions here, but I think that's how the economy in Europe or in the UK looks like, or in Uganda, where their primary asset isn't information or IT. Their primary asset for the economy could be in maybe medicine, pharmaceuticals, maybe there's that Airbus, their primary asset that gives them their revenue isn't a physical thing, or even gold, if you want to go so deep into other aspects. Think of Uganda, our primary asset is tourism and other stuff, right? But the country still lives, It's not the end of the day when the IT, Fortune 500, Fortune 200 stocks just get wiped out, And it's going to get wiped out because white collar jobs because like we said, software eats itself. It's like a black hole. So in the end, yeah, what will happen will just be every job that's done on a computer will vanish. And so then jobs will still be needed, but it'll be more blue collar jobs or for more day-to-day problems like healthcare, transportation, physical problems, not problems that happen on your computer. So you won't need someone to make you a PowerPoint. You won't need a secretary to take notes for you. Anything on a computer is gone. So maybe be a dentist, maybe be a cleaner. And in Uganda too, cleaners get fed, they get paid, It's not the end of the world when there are no white collar jobs. In fact, it just levels the playing field. And then let me end real quick too. You see, we're living in the dreamland as tech bros, right? We are overpaid. And what I mean by that is, a tech bro, my start-off salary after graduation is 120K, right? Maybe a civil engineer, that starting pay is like 75 or 65K per year, right? So why is there that extreme disparity in pay? Well, because SaaS software is the most leveraged asset class ever in humanity. When you have a bakery in New York, you're limited by the size of your bakery, the amount of input and bread you can make to serve people. But with software, it doesn't matter once you build your song, you can sell the digital copy to 10 billion people just infinitely, right? So you have infinite sale and infinite reach because you aren't tied down to New York, you're selling to the globe, right? And because of that, the profit margins for a software company have been so big, hence the high pay for tech bros. but we aren't really doing something that's really, really groundbreaking. Now, there are a few software engineers who I know who make software for bombs, right? That's very specialized and very important. But the point is, tech bros have been overpaid and we've been living in a dream world. So when all of this happens, when all of this comes crashing down, we'll just become like everyone else. We'll get paid a normal wage, like a regular civil engineer, like a regular maybe police officer, and that will be it at the end of the day. And that's my case.
No, that's an interesting case. I wanted to laugh a lot, but I was holding myself because I do disagree with a lot of a bunch of the things that you mentioned. Okay, I'm going to start with your last point about overpaying. So I think the way tech right now is, and the way it looks like it's being overpaid, is because like they are the services that people are really willing to pay for, right? People are willing to spend most of their time on Instagram and Facebook or Meta gets that data. They get to sell the data around etc. Right? People are willing to take that trade off, and that's why there's a lot of money in tech, right? Because people are so attracted to technology at the end of the day. So the demand just makes it paying as it is. But talking about K-shaped and the whole AI, right? One of the things that we mentioned was like AI gives everyone sort of a close to equal opportunity to invent, right? You can make your tool right now and make it work properly, right? At this moment in time. But the thing is, it becomes a K-shaped because like not so many people who are in the lower class or middle to lower class in terms of earning want to push those inventions. And because of that, right, people now make it as if the people that are at the top there that are inventing in AI are kind of separating or segregating us, but they don't really take a look into how much depressing it is. Do you know how much depressing it is to be Elon Musk? No, those guys, I think it boils down to what choices are you making for yourself? What do you want to be? Some people prefer to have a life where you enjoy life more than work. And there are people that love working more than enjoying life. And that is what makes the separation in this age where we all have these AI tools that we can all build on. And probably, I think most people, if they really wanted, people want to be rich, right? But who does really want to put in the work to be rich? Not so many people. That's where most of the differences come in, right? You also mentioned about moving to free software, moving to companies that have humans in between. All these companies, Tesla, OpenAI, they all have people, they all have families.